Home Studio Start Podcast.
What's up, Home Studio Heroes, and welcome to the Home Studio Start Podcast.
Hey, everyone. Great to be here.
Today, we're doing a real deep dive, diving headfirst into the foundational, maybe sometimes a little mysterious art of mixing bass.
Yeah, and all those crucial low-frequency elements, the stuff that really gives music its power.
Exactly. We're talking about the sounds that make your chest vibrate and your feet tap without even thinking about it. It's fundamental stuff.
Absolutely fundamental.
So our insights for this deep dive come from a super compelling blog post right here on Home Studio Start. It's titled Mastering Bass: Expert Tips for Perfect Low-Frequency Mixes.
Ah, yes, a great one. And it's written by Rodrigo Marquez himself.
That's right. The founder of Home Studio Start, the guy behind our slogan, Home Recording Made Easy.
Rodrigo's a real veteran, isn't he? Like over 25 years in music production.
Totally. He's been mastering tools like SoundForge, Samplitude Pro, VST plugins, basically since '97. So yeah, he knows his stuff.
He really does. Produced albums globally, helped tons of emerging artists.
And get this, empowered thousands through his formula HSS for mixing and mastering. He's really dedicated to democratizing music production.
Which is super cool, helping artists build sustainable careers, that whole thing.
Right.
It aligns with that UN Goal 8, right?
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today, we want to unravel some powerful kind of insider techniques.
Things to really elevate your tracks, add depth, balance, that irresistible energy.
Exactly. Making sure those low frequencies just grab you by the gut. Because bass, well, it's the pulse, isn't it?
It's the groove, the key of moving listeners, yeah.
So this deep dive is really about giving you the shortcuts, helping you understand how to nail this crucial element.
Whether you're just starting out, wrestling with your first mix, or maybe you're just curious about what makes your favorite songs thump so hard.
Perfect. Okay, let's unpack this. First essential tool. Equalization or EQ.
Ah, EQ. Can't mix without it.
Right. It's fundamental for getting clarity down there and stopping everything from turning into, well, mud.
Exactly. That dreaded low-end mud.
So what's the core idea behind EQing bass then? What are we really trying to do?
It's all about creating space. That's the main thing. The core purpose of EQ is basically allowing each sound to have its own little spot in the frequency spectrum.
Okay, so they're not all fighting each other.
Precisely. You adjust the frequency balance so nothing masks or muddies up anything else. Super important with powerful low frequencies. Think of it kind of like a sonic traffic controller.
I like that analogy. So how do you start? Where do you look first?
Well, first you need to figure out the fundamental frequency of your bass instrument. Usually that's somewhere between, say, 40 hertz and 100 hertz for most basses.
Right.
Then you grab a parametric EQ. That's the really flexible kind where you control the frequency, the boost or cut, and crucially, the Q, how wide or narrow that adjustment is.
And you sweep that?
Yeah, you sweep through the low-end frequencies. You're kind of hunting for those problem areas where your bass might be clashing with something else.
Like the kick drum. That's the classic battle, right?
The classic battle, exactly.
Yeah.
So a really useful tip is to use a narrow EQ cut on the bass track, right at the kick drum's fundamental frequency.
Ah, okay, so just a little notch out.
Just a tiny little notch. It creates this pocket, you see, and it helps both the bass and the kick stand out clearly without fighting. It's subtle, but effective.
That's brilliant. And speaking of creating space, what about high-pass filters? You mentioned cleaning up mud.
Oh, definitely. High-pass filters are kind of unsung heroes for clarity down low.
Because you're using them on things that aren't bass. Yeah.
Exactly. You gently roll off the super low frequencies on things like synth pads, guitars, even vocals sometimes. Maybe start around 100 hertz, gently.
Why, though? Don't you want all the low end you can get?
Well, not really. Those instruments don't need that super low stuff.
Yeah.
And it just accumulates as rumble as mud. So by taking it out where it's not needed.
You make room for the bass and kick.
Precisely. You give them clear breathing room so they can punch through with real definition.
So it's often more about cutting than boosting everything. Smart.
Yeah, generally. I mean, sure, a small, broad Q boost around the bass's fundamental can add some nice warmth. But often, a slight cut, maybe around 200 to 300 hertz.
The mud zone.
Yeah, people call it the mud zone, or maybe up to 500 hertz sometimes. A little dip there can be way more effective for reducing muddiness than boosting elsewhere. It's counterintuitive sometimes.
Okay, interesting. Any other little EQ tricks?
Well, here's a neat one. Sometimes a small boost, maybe around 700 hertz to 1 kilohertz, can actually help the bass presence on smaller speakers.
Ah, so it helps it translate better, like on laptops or phones.
Exactly. Helps it cut through a bit more when the deep lows aren't as audible.
Cool. So let's take that bass and kick example again. How would you apply this?
Okay, so say they're fighting around like 60, 80 hertz where the kick has its main punch.
Right.
You could make a small, maybe narrowish cut on the bass guitar right there, 60, 80 hertz. Then find where the bass guitar's character really lives, maybe 100, 120 hertz or so, and give that a slight boost.
So they complement each other instead of clashing, like puzzle pieces fitting together.
Exactly. It creates this symbiotic relationship, both clear, both powerful.
Awesome. Okay, moving on from sculpting with EQ, let's talk about something that feels a bit like magic sometimes. Sidechain compression.
Oh, the secret weapon.
Totally feels like it, especially for getting that kick and bass to really groove together, right?
It absolutely is. The basic idea of sidechain compression is pretty clever, actually. You use the audio signal from one source.
Usually the kick drum.
Yeah, typically the kick.
Yeah.
And you use that signal to trigger a compressor placed on another track, usually the bass.
So every time the kick hits,
the bass gets pushed down or ducked momentarily. It compresses the bass just for that instant.
And that creates that rhythmic pumping effect.
Exactly, that breathing, pumping feel. It's absolutely crucial in genres like, say, EDM, where you need that constant interplay. It carves out space dynamically.
Right. Okay, let's paint a picture. You're making a dance track, big thumping kick, deep bass line. But together they sound, well, messy, a bit blobby.
Happens all the time.
Sidechain compression to the rescue. You put a compressor on the bass channel.
Yep, and then you set the sidechain input or key input on that compressor to receive the signal from the kick drum track.
Got it. So now kick hits, bass ducks down just a tiny bit.
And boom, suddenly the kick has its own clear space to punch through. The whole groove instantly feels tighter, more professional. It really can be transformative.
So what are the key settings to get right on the compressor?
The details matter here. You want to play with the attack time. That's how quickly the compression kicks in when the kick hits. Faster attack means more obvious ducking.
And the release?
That's how long it takes for the bass to return to its normal level after the kick. A slower release can give you a smoother, maybe more subtle pumping feel. A faster release makes it kind of snap back.
And then threshold and ratio, I guess.
Absolutely. The threshold sets the level the kick has to reach to trigger the compression, and the ratio controls how much the bass gets turned down. You really need to experiment to find the sweet spot.
So it's not just slapping a preset on?
Definitely not. You have to listen critically, in the context of the whole mix. Does it enhance the groove?
Yeah.
Or is it distracting? It's a balance.
You can hear this everywhere, though, once you know what to listen for. Like Daft Punk, Calvin Harris.
Oh, yeah, masters of it. They show how sidechaining can just transform a mix, make it way punchier, more dynamic, just more engaging. It turns a good beat into something you physically feel.
Love it. Okay, next up, adding warmth and character. Let's talk saturation and harmonic enhancement.
Ooh, good stuff. This is about making the bass feel richer, more present.
Yeah, it's a real game changer for making bass stand out without just turning up the volume, right? Saturation. It's kind of like gentle distortion.
Pretty much. Think of pushing old analog gear like tape machines or tubes just into their sweet spot, maybe slightly past it. It's not harsh distortion, usually.
And what does that actually do to the sound?
It adds harmonics. These are extra frequencies, multiples of the fundamental frequency that our ears perceive as richness, fullness, warmth. It makes it sound more complex, more interesting.
Ah, okay. Like classic rock bass, that slightly fuzzy, driven sound.
Exactly. That slight overdrive isn't just noise, it's saturation adding harmonics. It helps the bass cut through the mix beautifully, gives it personality, and even makes it sound louder perceptually, even if the peak level isn't higher.
Cool. And nowadays, we can get that easily with plugins, right?
Oh, totally. There are tons of great ones. Things like Waves, Kramer Tape, Soundtoys Decapitator.
Yeah.
Lots of options.
What's the approach when using them? Just crank it up.
Probably not. The key is usually subtlety. Start with really low settings, gradually increase the drive or saturation amount until you just start to hear that warmth and character kick in.
And compare it to the original sound.
Always. A/B testing is crucial. Toggle a plug-in on and off. Make sure you're actually enhancing the sound, adding something positive, not just making it fuzzy or losing definition.
Makes sense. So how does harmonic enhancement differ from saturation then? Sounds similar.
They work together well, but harmonic enhancement is often a bit more targeted. Saturation often adds harmonics across the board, kind of like the analog gear did. Harmonic enhancers or exciters often let you focus on specific frequency ranges.
Ah, okay. Like adding harmonics just to the mids or highs of the bass.
Exactly. Tools like Isotope's Ozone, for example, have multi-band harmonic excitation, so you could add some sparkle or presence higher up without messing with the fundamental lows.
Any practical tips there?
Yeah, sometimes slightly boosting or exciting the low mids carefully can add body and presence without making it muddy. Again, it's about finding those frequencies that make your bass sound more musical and defined, not just louder. Helping it sing, not just thump.
Gotcha. And you hear this a lot in electronic music too, right? Making basses huge on club systems.
Oh, absolutely. EDM producers are masters at using saturation and harmonic enhancement to make bass lines feel massive, dense, and really present, even on huge sound systems. It's not just about sheer volume.
So it encourages experimentation, finding that sweet spot where the bass is rich and powerful but still clear.
Totally. Find what works for your track.
Okay, next technique. Sub-bass layering. This sounds like fun. Adding serious depth and power.
Yeah, it's a fantastic technique for getting that really deep foundational weight. But, like you said, there's a big caveat.
You need a solid foundation, right? Otherwise, instant mud bath.
Exactly. If you just pile up low frequencies without control, it's a disaster.
So if bass is the heartbeat, what's sub-bass in this whole picture?
Good question. If we connect this to the bigger picture, maybe think of your mix like building a cake. The sub-bass is that really crucial base layer, the foundation.
Okay, holding everything else up.
Right. It provides the fundamental structure, the support. Without a solid, well-defined sub-foundation, the whole mix can feel weak or, worse, collapse into this messy, indistinct rumble down low.
So layering it thoughtfully gives you punch and clarity, plus that feeling of depth.
Yes, exactly. It extends how deep the track feels.
Okay, so how do you actually do the layering effectively without just making a mess?
Right. First step, choose your primary sub-bass sound. This needs to be really clean. Often, it's something simple like a pure sine wave or maybe a very clean bass synth patch.
Why so clean?
Because you want it purely for that low-end weight, that fundamental tone, free of unwanted harmonics or upper frequencies that might clutter things up. This is your anchor.
Okay, makes sense. Then you add another layer.
Yeah, then you can add a second complementary layer on top. This one can have a bit more character, maybe a lightly distorted bass sound or a sample with some texture.
And this layer sits where?
It sits just above those pure sub-frequencies. It adds the texture and maybe some upper harmonics that help define the sub on smaller systems. But it shouldn't overshadow that primary low-end weight.
So again, it comes down to separation, right? How do you keep them separate?
Filters are your best friend here. Absolutely crucial tip. Use a low-pass filter on your primary sublayer. Roll off everything above maybe 60 hertz or even lower sometimes. Really focus it.
Okay, so that's just the super deep stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Then on your second texture layer, you do the opposite. Use a high-pass filter. Roll off everything below maybe 60, 80 hertz, somewhere around where the low pass on the main sub ends.
Ah, so they each have their own distinct frequency zone. No overlap, no fighting.
Precisely. That separation is absolutely key. Prevents phase issues, prevents muddiness, and ensures each layer does its job effectively.
Can you think of a track where this is done really well?
Oh, sure. Think about a track like Titanium by David Guetta and Thea. That song has this incredibly powerful, yet super controlled sub-bass foundation.
Yeah, you can really feel it, but it doesn't sound messy.
Right. It's like this invisible force holding the whole track up. That's the kind of effect you can get by carefully balancing these layers, maybe using a little EQ like we talked about earlier, too.
Cool. Definitely something for people to experiment with.
Absolutely. Developing an ear for deep, impactful, but clean sub-bass takes practice.
Okay, last big topic. Spatial processing and stereo imaging for low frequencies. Now, this one always felt a bit weird to me. Low frequencies are mostly mono, right?
That's the general wisdom, yeah. And for good reason. Understanding the basics here is important. Our ears just aren't great at telling where low sounds are coming from compared to high sounds.
Which is why bass and kick are usually panned dead center.
Exactly. That's where they have the most impacts, the most punch, the most clarity. Keeping the core low-end mono and centered is generally the rule of thumb. It ensures solidity.
But the title says spatial processing, so there are ways to add width.
There are, yeah. You can get creative and add dimension without completely wrecking the foundation. The key is usually not to spread the fundamental frequencies themselves, but maybe the stuff around them.
Okay, how does that work? What are the techniques?
One really powerful technique is using mid-side processing. This lets you separate the audio signal into two parts, the mid signal, which is everything that's mono and centered.
Like the main kick and bass fundamental.
Right. And the side signal, which is all the stereo information, the stuff out wide.
And you can process them separately.
Exactly. So you can keep that crucial low end locked in the mid channel, nice and solid. But then you could say, add a little EQ boost to some mid or high frequencies only in the side channel.
Ah, so you're widening the harmonics or the higher parts of the bass sound, but not the deep lows?
Precisely.
Okay.
Or maybe widening other instruments that sit near the bass. It creates this sense of width and space without making the core bass sound weak or phasey.
Interesting. Are there other tools for this?
Yeah, you could use stereo enhancers carefully, maybe just on the higher frequencies of the bass or on complementary sounds, or even things like the Haas effect.
What's the Haas effect again?
It's where you create a very short delay, like just a few milliseconds, on one side of a stereo signal. Our brain interprets that tiny delay as width without hearing a distinct echo.
But you'd use that carefully, maybe not on the main sub.
Generally, yeah. You'd apply these widening tools more to elements that complement the bass, like maybe some sub-bass harmonics you layered in, or synth pads playing alongside it. They add richness and depth without messing with the core low frequencies that need to stay solid.
Can you give an example of an artist who does this well?
Maybe look at someone like Flume. His tracks often feel incredibly wide and immersive.
Yeah, super spacious.
But listen closely. The core bass lines usually still feel really solid and centered. He achieves that width by cleverly processing the supporting elements, the textures, the higher frequency stuff around the bass, subtly widening those.
So the bass stays powerful, but the whole soundscape feels huge.
Exactly. It's about enriching the whole picture while keeping the foundation strong.
Okay, but with all this talk of widening, isn't there a risk?
Ah, yes. This raises a really important question, and something you absolutely have to keep in mind. Monocompatibility.
The dreaded mono check.
It's crucial. Always check your mix in mono. Because a lot of playback systems are still mono, or effectively mono, like Bluetooth speakers, some club systems, phone speakers.
And if you've gone too crazy with stereo widening, especially in the lows,
Your bass could disappear or sound really weird and phasey when collapsed to mono. It's a common pitfall.
so how do you check? Just hit the mono button.
That's the main way, yeah. Listen carefully. Does the bass still sound solid? Does anything disappear or get thin? Also, use tools like phase correlation meters. These show you visually how in phase or out of phase your stereo signal is. You generally want to stay in positive territory.
So check in mono, use meters, and listen on different systems.
Definitely. Phones, earbuds, car stereo.
Okay.
Make sure your awesome stereo mix still translates well everywhere. Otherwise, all that clever widening might backfire.
Got it. Wow. Okay. What a journey through the low end. We've covered a lot.
We really have. From EQ carving out space,
Sidechain compression for that dynamic punch and clarity.
layering for adding that deep power and character.
And then using spatial processing carefully to affect how the listener perceives it all.
It's a lot, but mastering these really makes a difference. And remember, one super potent technique we didn't dive deep into but is always relevant, referencing.
Ah, comparing your mix to pro tracks.
Exactly. Always reference your mix against well-produced tracks in a similar genre that you admire. It really helps keep your ears calibrated and tells you if you're on the right track with your low end.
Great point. Okay, so now it's over to you, the listener. Time to take all these insights.
And make them work for you.
Yeah, dive into your current projects. Try out these bass mixing techniques. Experiment. Don't be afraid to twist knobs and see what happens.
Listen critically. Trust your ears, but also use the tools. And yeah, push the boundaries a little.
Because mastering the art of mixing bass, well, it doesn't just make the bass itself sound good, does it?
Not at all. It really builds this invisible, powerful foundation for the entire track. It guides the listener, makes them feel the rhythm, connects them emotionally. It's kind of like the silent architect of the song's impact.
Love that, the silent architect. So start applying these principles today.
And you will absolutely feel and hear the difference in your next track.